Dungeons are a classic game staple. The mechanic adds extra layers to any game and was often a go-to mechanic for early game titles like The Legend of Zelda. Unlike most titles, dungeons have always been a core part of what makes a Zelda game. It's hard to have a Zelda game without dungeons. Zelda dungeons have left an impact on many of us, and beyond the great design, music, and atmosphere, there's one piece that hasn't really been explored about Zelda dungeons. Today, I want to dive into the subtle effect of color throughout some of Zelda's most popular dungeons. Colors are fascinating, and there's a lot of science behind how they work. The field of color theory, or color psychology, explores how these colors affect our emotions, feelings, and sometimes even physical reactions. Marketers will use this to make you think twice about if you really want that Tears of the Kingdom merch. But Zelda uses it to create an emotional connection that you surely remember or recall if you've ever played a Zelda dungeon. Some people believe that Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess dungeons offer the best selections in the series. I can't really argue with that statement, but before that, let's first take a trip to 1999. The first dungeon is probably remembered for more reasons than one. Deemed one of the hardest puzzles in the series and known for its oceanic theme, I bet you can already picture the dungeon I'm referring to. In color theory, blue is often associated with feelings of calm, sadness, and introspection. This aligns perfectly with the emotional and thought-provoking atmosphere intended for this temple. The maze-like structure requires players to manipulate water levels to access different sections of the temple. The cool, deep blues instilling the sensation of being entrapped and isolated from the outer world. The scattered grays serve to enhance this effect, suggesting the vast, unknown depths of the ocean, fostering a sense of vulnerability and unease. And in strategic locations and moments, the Zelda team integrated bursts of aggressive colors like red and gold. Red often is a color that demands attention, and that's why it's used as the crosshair inside the dungeon. So its place during enemy encounters or critical thinking moments act as a clear signal warning players of imminent threats or challenges. All these little design decisions helped solidify the feel of this dungeon and ultimately made it more memorable. The Zelda series uses this pattern a lot. For instance, in snowpeak ruins, we get a similar color tone in the icy blues, while the stark whites mirror the frigid surroundings. White in its purity often signifies isolation or emptiness, mirroring the vast stretches of snowy landscapes. Further in, the mansion's hearth offers counterbalance in the form of amber and orange hues emitting from the fireplace. These hues are tied to sensations of warmth, comfort, and nostalgia. They act as beacons in the icy expanse, kind of representing home. Every time the player ventures deeper into the mansion, battling its challenges and returning back to the warmth of the hearth, they experience a transition from isolation to safety, from cold to warm, emphasized and heightened by the meticulous use of color. This is tied together nicely by the context of this dungeon, with you having to bring back items for the Yeti's wife's suit. Now, while this next dungeon has some crazy game mechanics, did you ever notice the shift in atmosphere from the use of color? Located in the desolate region of Akana Canyon, the Stone Tower Temple is distinguished by its unique mechanic of inversion. Players must initially navigate the temple in its standard orientation, only to later flip it upside down, transforming ceilings into floors and vice versa. This inversion mechanic not only challenges the player's spatial understanding, but also mirrors the game's themes of duality. When you initially get to the temple, the colors are primarily grays and browns. Nothing major, but does tell you the ruin-like nature of the temple. Similar color patterns can be seen in the ancient pyramids of Egypt or the ruins of Machu Picchu. Using these colors help ground you in the experience by giving some semblance to reality. Then we're introduced to the sudden appearance of red and purples, immediately alerting you to be more careful as you explore. The interplay of these shades not only amplifies the atmosphere, but also resonates with the player's own emotional journey, navigating the familiar yet uncovering new layers of intrigue and uncertainty. The transition between color schemes helps solidify the narrative transition. As you move from understanding how the temple works and its history and travel deeper, the colors follow a similar journey to the gameplay progression. The intertwining of the Stone Tower Temple's intricate design with its careful and deliberate use of color results in a dungeon that is both mentally challenging and memorable.
Enter this island of mystery at your own risk. You may never leave.
One of the games that could be seen as using color the most is Link's Awakening DX. It takes players back to a special island named Koholint. This version of the dungeon was released in the DX remaster that came out on the Game Boy Color. The inclusion of the colored dungeon was so crazy for the time because it was one of the first instances where a Zelda game was re-released with a completely new dungeon just to take advantage of newer hardware capabilities. This dungeon focused on solving puzzles using red, blue, and green, while changing the colors of enemies or floor tiles to move ahead in the game. But in true Zelda fashion, the color design in this game go well beyond just the innovative mechanics. The vibrant and saturated colors of the dungeon contrast with the relatively muted palette of the rest of Koholint Island. The bright colors infuse the dungeon with a sense of wonder and whimsy, evoking feelings of joy and curiosity. And at the same time, they touch back to the game's overarching narrative about dreams and reality. By immersing the player in a vibrant environment like this, the game subtly underscores the dreamlike quality of Link's adventure on Koholint. There are a lot of little elements that help make Zelda games memorable, and I really think color is one where there's more to explore. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below and leave a like on this one if you enjoyed it. I love the dungeons in Zelda, but they aren't the only memorable thing about Zelda. Do you remember when Zelda team created one of the most disturbing game mechanics ever used?